Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing my top 5 most anticipated sci-fi and fantasy releases for the month of April. But before we go ahead and get on into the books, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the like button to throw a little bit of support my way. I post new videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. The first book is a novella, and it is The Practice, the Horizon, and the Chain by Samantha Samatar. This is an author that I am not familiar with, and when I was reading through the synopsis, it really piqued my interest. And I'm not one to normally read novellas, so I feel like if this book was available at my library, it is one that I would check out and read through, in one sitting. In this story, we are following a boy, and he is known as one of the chained, and he is the bottom rung of society in this mining ship. So like I said, it is a space opera. It does take place in space. But his whole world changes when he is literally yanked upstairs by this woman known as the professor. This professor tells the boy that he is no longer considered one of the chained. He now has the opportunity to learn and become one of the educated elite in this society. This woman does have ulterior motives though, and she sees a lot of herself in this boy because she has spent her entire life trying to receive validation from her peers through her knowledge and education, and every attempt that she's made has just fallen short at every turn. The boy and the professor will work together to try and break through these metaphorical chains of societal castes within this galactic setting. I do think that this novella has a lot of parallels to some themes in our real world, especially access to equitable and fair education and the role of education in the betterment of people's lives. I personally am an educator. I'm a teacher. I have a very strong passion towards how education can benefit one's life. So I feel like this book and its themes would probably speak to me directly, and I will look to some point pick this up, hopefully from my library. Expected publication date is April 16th. The next book is Mal Goes to War by Edward Ashton. And y'all, I did not know that Edward Ashton was putting out a new book this year. He wrote Mickey 7, which I have talked about on my channel. I read it last year, really enjoyed it. I have a whole review for it. I'll link it up in the cards. And Antimatter Blues, the sequel, is a book that I want to get to this year. So when I saw that he was putting out a new series or a new book, I was super excited. So from the synopsis, I can gather that in this world, we have come to a point where there are augmented humans, and the augmented humans and what sounds like the people that are against augmentation are fighting, like they're having a war. I don't know if that's the exact take on it. That's just the way I understood it. And Mal is actually a free-thinking AI, and he is experiencing this war, but he really is outside of it because it doesn't affect him. So he's just kind of viewing the humans as we are once again fighting. But Mal actually does become involved, just not purposefully. Somehow or another, he finds himself downloaded into this cyborg who was a mercenary. So he is now the brains, or the computer brains, of this cyborg. So Mal actually has stakes in this war now, so we are following this AI as he has to learn what exactly it means to be human, as well as touching on the role of artificial intelligence in our world today. Once again, I think that these are themes that directly parallel events that are happening in our world, and I'm super excited to read it and kind of see Edward Ashton's take on these ideas. Expected publication date is April 9th. And of course, we have The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I feel like everybody knows about this new book that she is putting out. So I have read the Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows series by Leigh Bardugo. I personally tried reading Ninth House. Ninth House was a DNF for me. I just could not get into it. I know that some people really enjoyed that book, just wasn't for me. But I believe this is an adult fantasy, historical fantasy. So the setting of this book is the Spanish Golden Age in Spain, and it follows a girl named, I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, Lucia or Lucia. And Lucia is a scullery maid, and she works for this really wealthy, prominent family. And she does have some sort of magical ability. I don't yet know what this is. But one day, the matriarch of this family finds out that Lucia can do magic and wants her to help the family kind of rise in their position in society. Unfortunately, Lucia's magical talents don't go unnoticed, and they end up catching the eye of Antonio Perez, who is a secretary to the current Spanish king. Spain is currently at war with England, and the Spanish king is looking for anything possible to help in this war and this defeat of England. Determined to seize this one chance to better her fortunes, Louisa plunges into a world of politics, magic, fraud, and alchemy. To be honest, I don't know hardly anything about the Spanish Golden Age or that era in history in that part of the world, and this book definitely sounds fun and interesting, and expected publication is April 9th. Next, we have The Book That Broke the World by Mark Lawrence. This is an adult fantasy, and it's the second book in the library trilogy. And the book that wouldn't burn, this one here, I got for Christmas, and I have not read it yet, so I didn't want to read the synopsis of the second book coming out because that can often spoil what happened in the first book. But this is one that I plan to read very, very soon. And the synopsis is fairly vague, so it just makes it sound like there is this library, this magical library where this boy has grown up, and then there is this girl that comes from this place called Dust that is, I guess, rampaged by just evil and nightmares, and the two of them somehow meet and their lives are interconnected, and that's all I know. The synopsis is incredibly short on the inside here, so I'm actually excited to go into the series not really knowing everything about the world and about the plot, but the second book, expected publication date is April 9th. And lastly, we have Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes. This is a sci-fi horror. I've never read anything by this author before, but the premise sounds pretty intriguing. In this book, we are following a psychologist named Dr. Bray, and she has spent her entire life studying this psychological disorder that happens to people when they go into space called ERS. And the most recent case, like, the people just went crazy and went on this murdering spree. So she is just studying this unique psychological condition. When the doctor is assigned to this small exploration crew, she is eager to begin or continue her research, but she begins to learn that this crew is actually hiding something from her. While the doctor just wants to focus on studying the psychological condition, the crew is way more interested in unraveling the mystery of the previous crew that had been on this planet that had a very hasty, quick departure. One day, the pilot of this crew is discovered murdered, and Ophelia, or Dr. Bray, begins to fear that ERS is coming to fruition. Or is it something else, something that is on the planet that she and her crew did not account for? Ghost Station, to me, just sounds like a really good sci-fi thriller with horror elements, and expected publication date is April 9th. Okay, you guys, that is it for 5 of my most anticipated sci-fi and fantasy releases for April. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these or what books you're excited for in the month of April, and I will see you all in another video soon. Goodbye!